Assault rifles are arguably the most popular weapon class in Call of Duty history, and we've seen some crazy ones throughout the years. We've covered some crazy ones throughout the year. But which assault rifles were so good? They were so overpowered, so insanely strong that the developer decided to nerf them. Now, some of these nerfs drove it into the ground and they completely destroyed the weapon. Others, you didn't even notice or didn't even know they were nerfed. Welcome to the channel, everybody. Jimmy here, Chaos. Welcome back. No, this is not an AI face cam. Would an AI do this? No, it wouldn't. Light goal today is 1,072, and today we're going to go over the top 20 best assault rifles that were so insane they had to be nerfed. I appreciate every one of you. Yes, I do read every single comment. It is one of the joys of my day to interact with you guys specifically on this channel. Now let's jump in. Kicking things off at number 20 is the Oden in Modern Warfare. It was one of the most memorable assault rifles in the game because of that massive firing sound. It boomed across the map and the two-shot kill potential. But even though it was never that popular with the community, Infinity Ward felt the need to nerf it a couple times because it was just a little too melty for their liking. Certain attachments on the Oden were destroyed with nerfs like the Colossus Suppressor, which, I mean, it got hit with a 10% range nerf not too long after the game came out. Now, the Oden still had a fan club after all the nerfs, but it's safe to say that it got nerfed. It didn't really need nerfed, and then it really didn't get used much after that, except for the people that just kind of had the fan club for it. At number 19, the M8A1 in Black Ops 2. Did you even know this gun was patched? I mean, you would never have known it if you fired up the game today because the M8A1 was and still is one of the most popular iconic assault rifles ever put in a Black Ops game. First, 4-round burst rifle. Impressive 3-shot kill range. Made it incredible with the time to kill. And the 4-shot kill range was really, really long, which made it a 1-burst kill from basically any distance as long as you could stay on target. Now, a month or two after Black Ops 2 came out, Treyarch noticed how popular the M8 was with both the competitive and the casual players. So they decided to issue a nerf, but that nerf was just to reduce the 3-shot kill range. So now instead of going for 3-shot kills, you usually had to go for 4-shot kills. But this was a 4-round burst rifle, so you never really felt the nerf in action because at the end of the day, it was still a 1-burst kill from basically anywhere. I mean, I guess if you were one of the people who used select fire on it, I mean, so you could run it in full auto, you would notice it a little bit. But everybody else, nope. I mean, no. Yes, the M8A1 was nerfed, but 99% of the time, nobody noticed. At number 18. The FAMAS in Black Ops. It's hard to believe this, but the legendary Black Ops 1 FAMAS actually was nerfed at one point, but it obviously didn't do anything to hurt its legacy. It fired at over 900 rounds per minute. It killed with 3 bullets up close, 4 across range, and the recoil was perfectly vertical, so it wasn't hard to stay on target. The only difference between the pre and post nerf versions of the FAMAS was that recoil. When Black Ops 1 first launched, it was very low. It was predictable. The pattern was there. You could do it. And then they nerfed it, and the recoil was a bit stronger. That was it. The FAMAS dominated the Black Ops multiplayer for the entirety of its life cycle, before the nerf and after. At number 17, the Grau 5.56 in Warzone 2020. Who remembers when this gun was so good it was better than snipers in the game? It was perfectly acceptable in multiplayer, but in Warzone, it dominated for quite some time due to the insane damage profile and the ridiculous range for an AR. This rifle barely kicked when you pulled the trigger, and yet it carried some intimidating range for basically infinite range, which made it easy to point and click on people off in the distance and erase them before they even spotted you. It got to the point where people were ditching sniper rifles altogether because it was just more reliable and less risky to spam people with the Grau from long range. Of course, it was nerfed pretty hard and eventually found a more respectable and less obnoxious place in the Warzone 2020 meta. Man, if you were there from the beginning, it was crazy. At number 16, I bet this is the most mentioned gun on Chaos COD history videos. Number 16, the BAL-27 Advanced Warfare. Did you know it was nerfed though? As you know, it didn't actually do anything to take it off the top tier list, but Sledgehammer actually issued a couple nerfs to the recoil and the range, but those patches, well, they didn't really do anything. If you managed to pull one of the elite variants out of a supply drop, it was as if the nerfs never happened in the first place because those were just busted through and through. I mean, I guess if you played AW during the first couple weeks, you might remember the original version of the BAL being a little crazier, but come on. Nobody even noticed the changes. At number 15, the Volk in Infinite Warfare. This one I didn't understand. Still don't. Futuristic AK-47, and I never thought it was very good. Never that the hype wasn't justified for me. It did have low fire rate, but it had unreliable damage. But believe it or not, IW actually nerfed it before the MV4, but that's what they did. For some reason, Infinity Ward decided to nerf the recoil on the Volk for literally no reason. Also made it harder to get 3-shot kills, which was the whole appeal of the gun in the first place. So what started as a decent AR ended up completely useless. And I know this is supposed to be a list of really good ARs that got nerfed, but I had to put this one on the list because it baffles me. The MV4, completely dominant from day one. And yet Infinity Ward nerfed the Volk before they ever touched the MV4. Make it make sense for me. Now, 14. The MV4. Yeah, they did nerf it at one point. It just barely did anything. It was the starting AR in Infinite Warfare, and even though the time to kill wasn't super quick, it was the most popular gun in the game by a landslide because of how consistent and how easy it was to use. 0 recoil, 4-shot kill, quick handling. There wasn't a downside. About 4 months after the game came out, and yes, it took that long, Infinity Ward finally nerfed the recoil. You would have never noticed that, though, because people just threw the foregrip attachment on it. So yeah, the damage was untouched. They kept it the most reliable gun in the game. There was really no point in even nerfing it, but they did. At number 13, the KBAR 32 in Infinite Warfare. This was seen as it was seen as the only real competitor to the MV4 because the recoil was higher and the damage was lower, but it also had a faster fire rate that gave it a bit more reliability up close. May not have been as easy to use as the MV4, but it was viable. It was favored more for aggressive playstyles, but around the same time as the MV4 nerf, Infinity Ward decided to hit the KBAR with a nerf for some reason too. They made it harder to control. So Infinity Ward waited 5 months to nerf the MV4. When they finally did nerf it, they also nerfed the only assault rifle that was competing for it at the top of the tier list. Once again, make it make sense. At number 12, the Man of War in Black Ops 3. I'm still a little bitter about this one because I don't think it was entirely necessary. The Man of War was one of my favorite guns in Black Ops 3. Featured a moderate fire rate, low recoil, chunky firing sound, damage profile made it reliable 3-shot kill. Treyarch, they disagreed with me. Well, they disagree with its role in the Black Ops 3 weapon sandbox, and after a while, they hit it with nerfs, a couple of them. They slowed down the movement, they slowed down the reload animation, they made the damage slightly less reliable, which kind of killed the appeal of the weapon overall. Made it a lot less satisfying. I'm not sure why they did it, because it's not like the Man of War was even close to being overpowered. I mean, they nerfed the Man of War, they never nerfed the Brecci. There is a conspiracy going on here. At number 11. The STG-44 in COD World War II. That was one of the most popular guns in the game during the COD World War II beta because it was busted in that era. Fire rate, crazy. Recoil, low. Damage, crazy. Literally, the only rifle worth using. The full game came out. Sledgehammer, they slightly nerfed it, but not much. The STG was still one of the most popular guns in the game because of the versatility and the time to kill, and it did lead to a couple more nerfs throughout the life cycle of COD World War II. Sledgehammer seems to have a fascination with this gun because it's appeared in almost all their games, and it's always coming back as top tier. At number 10 today, the STG-44 in Vanguard. It was your starting rifle in Vanguard. Easily the best gun in the game out of the gate. Versatility, once again, amazing. Attachment selection, insane. Every time a certain broken gunsmith build was patched, the community would find a new one. They would start all over again. It seemed like Sledgehammer was patching the STG every couple weeks, and eventually they got it to a good place. Today, it's decent enough for a starting assault rifle with some cheesy potential. Back during the first few months of Vanguard's life cycle, it was dumb. I have no idea how Sledgehammer let this gun out the door in the state they did, but come on. I mean, these are the people that brought us the bow. At number 9, the AN-94 in Black Ops 2. Yet another gun you probably didn't know got nerfed because it was one of the best guns in the game on day one, and it never stopped being one of the best guns in the game. Great time to kill, iconic reload animation, super low recoil, but in early 2013, Treyarch hit it with a nerf that they were hoping would make it less dominant. Needless to say, it didn't work. It actually got a damage nerf, but it really didn't do anything to keep it from being so strong because you would rarely notice the difference in actual shots needed to drop your target, and since the recoil was practically 0, it's not like you weren't going to hit all your shots either. But yeah, now you know, the AN-94 was actually nerfed at one point. At number 8. The ICR-7 in Black Ops 4. The main appeal of the ICR is the accuracy. Had a moderate fire rate, decent handling, but no recoil. Super accurate. But in Black Ops 4, Treyarch felt the accuracy was too good for the damage that it was putting out, but they didn't want to mess with the accuracy because that was the whole appeal of the gun. So instead, they nerfed the headshot multiplier to make the time to kill more consistent across the board. But that actually ended up making people mad. That pissed them off. The great accuracy made it easy to pump into people's heads and speed up the time to kill after they dropped the headshot multiplier. a lot of people decided to just drop the gun, right? Just pick up something else and learn the recoil pattern. At number 7, the M4A1 in Modern Warfare, the reboot. Yep, number of hits the M4 took from the Nerf hammer was kind of crazy. Think about it, maybe a record. This version of the M4 was the dominant assault rifle from day one all the way to today, despite all the adjustments Infinity Ward made. They nerfed the recoil, they nerfed the range, they nerfed the attachments. They did so much to try to take it off the top of the tier list, and it never worked. It was too versatile, too easy to use. Nobody ever put it down once they started grinding with it. No matter how much it was nerfed, it was never brought down enough to keep people from spamming it. You'd see it 50 times a day in multiplayer. At number 6, Maddox in Black Ops 4. For the first few months of the game, it was the go-to assault rifle for every role. Great for close range, solid at mid, totally viable at long. You could control the recoil, but after the first few competitive events, Treyarch decided the assault rifles needed to be specialized a little more, and they hit the Maddox with a huge handling nerf. They increased the recoil, they slowed down the ADS animations, and generally made it harder to use at close range against other SMGs. Now, some people thought the Maddox nerf went too far, but I'm kind of in the middle on this one. It was a little too versatile before the patch, so I do understand Treyarch's thinking here. They wanted it to be a little more specialized instead of being super good at every role. Now we arrive at the top 5. The HVK-30 and COD Mobile. Yes, some COD Mobile love. It was introduced in Black Ops 3, had a pretty solid fan club, myself included, because it was versatile. And then it was brought back in COD Mobile, and it became a point of conversation because of how often it needed to be adjusted. It seemed like every time it was buffed, it would get nerfed again. Then it would get buffed again. And it would be crazy for a while, then it would get nerfed again. And everybody would stop using it. I mean, I always loved the appearance of this gun. It gives me this nostalgia for the Black Ops 3 era, but I had to give it a spot today because of how often it was actually getting patched in COD Mobile. At number 4. Type 95 in Modern Warfare 3, the original. When the game launched, it was the go-to rifle. And this as your primary, and the Akimbo FMG9s as your secondary. Needless to say, this was a weird time. It was a weird time to play Modern Warfare 3, and it was nothing like the game played after the first batch of patches rolled out. But the Type 95 was basically the COD 4 M16, but with faster movement and more attachment. So obviously, something had to be done. The near instant time to kill was drastically nerfed by making the 2-shot kill much shorter and greatly increasing the bounciness of the recoil, which made it just not good. Once it was nerfed, people realized how strong the ACR 6.8 was, and it was over. The meta completely changed overnight, but if you were using the OG Type 95, you know how busted it was. Speaking of, at number 3, the FG42 in COD World War II. Not historically accurate in the game, but I don't think Sledgehammer cared about that as much as they like to say they were. The FG42 had relatively low fire rates and very little recoil, but in return, it had extremely high damage and a super generous 3-shot kill range. The time to kill wasn't the fastest in the class, but it didn't matter. It was super consistent, was easy to use, which made it so popular. But after the FG42 totally dominated the first few professional events, they hit it with a huge patch. Destroyed it. Reduced the power so much it literally became useless compared to every other automatic rifle in the game. It went from the top 5 gun tier to the bottom 5 overnight. I'll never really understand why Sledgehammer went so far with it. Maybe they didn't mean to, but they did. At number 2, the bar in COD World War II. Now, this gun fell victim to one of the fastest nerfs in COD history, with the first nerf coming just a few days after the game launched. The bar was the final assault rifle you got your hands on in the game. Easily the best gun in the game on launch day. Fire rate high, recoil low, 3-shot kill range reasonably good. Actually, unreasonably good. Just a few days after the game came out, Sledgehammer pushed out one of the fastest emergency balancing patches ever. They reduced the fire rate and accuracy, but the gun was still OP after that, just not quite as overpowered as launch day. Then a couple weeks after the first nerf, the bar was nerfed again. And it wasn't until the second patch that things started looking a little more properly balanced. But that 1.0 version of the bar, whew. And at number 1, no doubt, the MSBS and Ghost. You guys know the story. I've told it a million times. It was game-breaking when Ghost first launched, but it was eventually patched. And when I say eventually, it was pretty quick. 3-round burst rifle, totally broken when Ghost launched, featured this ridiculous 2-shot kill range and an even more ridiculous 1-burst kill range, making it by far the best gun in the game, as well as one of the easiest to use. After tons of outrage from the community, Infinity Ward issued a major patch to the MSBS that reduced the accuracy and made the range less forgiving, which that more or less destroyed the appeal of the gun altogether, and just like that, you never saw it again. I mean, when I think of assault rifles that got nerfed into the ground, the MSBS, I mean, it comes to mind every single time. Let me know 2 that were deserving of being on this list that weren't, and I'll see you guys soon.